Every day, people turn to their televisions, newspapers, computers, and phones to get their daily news. All this information comes from the millions of reporters and journalists who work all around the world. Journalists like Chauncey Bailey, who worked in the California's Bay Area writing news stories for over 20 years. But in 2007, one of those stories led to a group of people wanting him dead. But while this group may have believed killing Chauncey would lead to him and his work being forgotten, what it actually did was immortalize him. Chauncey Wendell Bailey Jr. was born on October 20th, 1949, in Oakland, California. He grew up on the east side of Oakland during a time of racial segregation and discrimination. Although he was too young to participate in the civil rights movement, he was old enough to remember the events as they unfolded on his TV. The civil rights movement, along with his own experiences of racism, had a lasting impact on Chauncey's life. Growing up, he found peace at the library, where he would read newspapers, magazines, and books back to back. And by the time he got to high school, Chauncey knew he wanted to be a journalist. While in college, he wrote for the Oakland Post and worked as an on-air reporter. And in 1972, he graduated from San Jose State University with a bachelor's degree in journalism. From there, he went on to work for the Sun Reporter in San Francisco, the California Voice in Oakland, the Hartford Courant in Connecticut, and then 10 years at Detroit News in Detroit. And at each job, Chauncey Bailey made an impact. He wrote stories that gave a voice to the community, and he went out into the community and encouraged people to read the newspaper and become aware of what was going on around them. Chauncey also took the time to mentor young people who wanted to become journalists. In 1992, Chauncey made his way back to his hometown in Oakland, California, where he went to work at the Oakland Tribune. Working at the Tribune for 12 years and at the Oakland Post as an editor, Chauncey became well known for writing news stories around the Oakland community. But his news stories were different than other journalists in the Bay Area. Chauncey would go after the tough stories, the ones mainstream news outlets wouldn't write about. At press conferences, Chauncey would be there in the front row, ready to ask the hard questions. When a news story broke, he'd stay up day and night, pushing to find the truth behind the story. And when a new business opened in the area, Chauncey was there to write an article about it. Never seen without a pen and notepad in his hand, Chauncey was always writing a news story. Always. And when it came to a local business called Your Black Muslim Bakery, he wrote several news stories. Your Black Muslim Bakery, founded by a man named Yusuf Bey, opened in Oakland in the early 1970s. Although not officially affiliated with the Nation of Islam, Your Black Muslim Bakery did become a symbol of African American empowerment and self-determination in Oakland's Black community. By the late 1970s, it was one of the largest Bay Area bakeries, selling 6,000 loaves of bread and over 300 cakes per week. For years, Your Black Muslim Bakery was seen as a successful, legitimate business. Owner Yusuf Bey even ran for mayor of Oakland in 1994. Chauncey Bailey covered that 1994 election, which Yusuf Bey lost. Chauncey was also there in 2002, writing about the criminal charges that were brought against Yusuf Bey for allegedly forcing his foster daughter to act as his underage mistress. The charges also alleged that over the course of 30 years, Yusuf Bey sexually assaulted girls as young as 10 years old and fathered 43 children, some with girls as young as 13. Yusuf Bey denied these allegations, but before Yusuf Bey could face trial, he died in 2003. Having covered news stories involving Your Black Muslim Bakery and its owner for over 10 years, it made sense that Chauncey was the first one people came to, when a few years after Yusuf Bey's death, word started to spread through the streets of Oakland that the bakery was no longer the legitimate business it once was. Leadership of the bakery had changed hands multiple times after owner Yusef Bey died, before finally being turned over to his 19-year-old son, Yusef Bey IV. And within a year, sources from inside the bakery revealed that shortly after Yusef Bey's death, your Black Muslim bakery was ran into bankruptcy. While Chauncey investigated the source's claims, it got back to your Black Muslim bakery that a story might soon be coming out about the bakery's financial problems. Weeks later, on August 2nd, 2007, Chauncey was walking to work when a masked gunman jumped out of a white van and shot him 3 times. Chauncey Bailey was pronounced dead at the scene. He was 57 years old. Within 11 hours of the killing, police suspected Yusef Bey IV's involvement. And within days of the killing, dozens of reporters, editors, and volunteers from various news organizations gathered in Oakland to finish Chauncey's work on the investigation into your Black Muslim bakery. The team of journalists created the Chauncey Bailey Project, an investigative unit who started working immediately to continue the reporting Chauncey was pursuing when he was gunned down.
You can't let that go unanswered, because what happens to the next reporter who's investigating a story that someone doesn't want him to report?
The day after Chauncey's death, police arrested 19-year-old Devondre Bouchard, who admitted to being the shooter. Devondre, who was the handyman at the bakery, told detectives that he killed Chauncey Bailey to stop him from writing a story. But he said that he did it because Yusef Bey IV wanted him to. Devondre also implicated 21-year-old Antoine Mackey as being an accomplice and the getaway driver. But Yusef Bey IV and Antoine Mackey denied these allegations, and both said they were innocent. And for a year, Devondre Bouchard was the only one charged with Chauncey's murder, suggesting that he had murdered Chauncey on his own. But in 2008, a video which was released by the Chauncey Bailey Project showed Yusef Bey IV in an interrogation room, admitting to having the murder weapon in his closet.
So, it was almost everything's bad. Listen, no, what else was got? The night before, the gun that was used was in my closet. The one that they used. The one that they shot it. But I had it in my room the whole time after that happened.
At trial, the prosecution provided additional evidence showing that Yusef Bey IV believed that shooting Chauncey Bailey would stop news stories about your Black Muslim bakery's bankruptcy. In 2011, 4 years after Chauncey Bailey was killed, Yusef Bey IV and Antoine Mackey were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Both were 25 years old. Devondre Bouchard cooperated with police, and in exchange for his testimony, was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Your Black Muslim bakery went bankrupt. The business was closed and sold to pay back creditors. After the trial, a special acknowledgement was made to the Chauncey Bailey Project and the team of journalists who came together to investigate his death. It was noted that without their work, a conviction of all those responsible for the shooting might not have been possible. In 2022, the city of Oakland unveiled a commemorative street sign that was placed at the intersection near where Chauncey Bailey was shot and killed. His sister, his son, and all his friends and family were there for the unveiling of Chauncey Bailey Way, which honored his work and lifelong commitment to his community, and it guaranteed that his life and death will not be forgotten.